Hi, I'm Hayley Hoffman, CEO at Dandi Day, and I am joined today by Miss Rachel Hersh from Prestige Capital. So we met, what Rachel, was it about maybe 6 months ago, or maybe
Yes,
maybe a little bit longer ago, but it was definitely during this strange time.
yes.
Yeah, and it was so nice to meet you. I love how, when you know one good person, they end up introducing you to their whole circle of really wonderful people. And I've definitely found that to be the case with you. You're such a wonderful collaborator and so excited about always getting people together and just getting down to business. And I love that. That's my style too. So thank you so much
Thank,
for joining us today, or me,
thank you, Haley.
and whoever else will be watching this.
Yeah,
Yeah, so today we were just going to talk a little bit about your company and just an introduction because this might be some people's first time coming in or hearing of Prestige Capital. And so we'd just like to, yeah, go over some basic things. So would you like to give a little bit of an introduction to yourself about um, like maybe like how long Prestige Capital has been around and the role that you play there at the company?
sure. Thank you. So Prestige Capital is a 35-year-old finance company, and we finance, emerging companies as well as established brands who need immediate liquidity. My role there is Sales Director North America. So we provide capital to companies anywhere in North America, and our footprint is a great one because there are so many innovative brands, in that space. And meeting them and getting to know brands and helping them grow is really my passion. My background is sales and marketing, and I fell into the finance industry by accident. But it's a great place to be because I'm able to really understand what founders are looking for and to help market our company in ways that is innovative, and working with you is an innovative way to market a finance company, so I really appreciate the collaboration.
Oh, that's so wonderful. Yeah, well, I can tell, as you said, that your background is in sales and marketing. I was in sales for about 9 years, so yeah, you get really good at being like, okay, what's the problem? Like these are the solutions that I have, and like the way that we can help fix it for you and get it all rolling. So what specifically are some problems that you encounter with brands that you help them solve? Problems you help brands solve?
So we provide liquidity to companies, and the mechanism with which we do that is by financing their invoices and also arranging to finance their orders. So many companies, especially young and emerging brands, cash is always an issue, not having enough cash flow, not having enough liquidity. Many of them think that they have to get equity in order to, really get out of the gate. But what they don't realize is that they can grow their brand out of getting orders. So if you get an order from a subscription box, or you get an order from Sephora, Ulta, whatever, you can actually engage with a company like Prestige Capital. And as long as you have, a clean background and are a citizen of North America, you can really get funding to fill those orders, and they can be very large. So we've have taken on brands that, got these orders from multiple hundreds of thousands and millions, and without having any of their own cash flow, they were able to work with us and actually fill orders. And we work with their suppliers domestically or overseas to ensure that the transaction goes
Okay.
well. Yeah.
That's nice. Yeah, that's such a great option for brands to think about as they, just thinking about how they could grow. And I didn't really know about your company or these types of services really until we met. And I've been in the industry for a long time, so I think it's so awesome. And um, so you mentioned the problem and some of your services, and I'm so sorry, my cat is like attacking me. Somebody let her in. Um, but how are your services? Is it just pretty straightforward of like liquidity services? Or are there other ones that you would have ordered that you could share with us, some descriptions?
So, as a person who's very curious about the world and also a big supporter of, entrepreneurs, when I speak to a client, yes, we provide financing, but they often need a holistic approach to what they're doing. So I create, friendships and partnerships with people like you who, if they need sourcing, if they need clean beauty, whatever they may need, I try to introduce them to partners within my ecosystem that they may not know about and that I know can help them grow and can help them realize their dreams. And again, knowledge is power. And if you don't know what you don't know, you're never going to get to the end game. So I kind of take them on and really try to mentor companies. And being a mentor is something that I really value because I think that people need information and knowledge.
That's great. And that's another reason why I invited you to be part of the Dandi Day collaborative partners, because everybody that's on in this partnership has a strong leaning and willingness to help and want to help people, because it can be really hard if you don't know, like you say, you don't know what you don't know, and you see people over and over make decisions, very costly decisions, and it can be hard for founders. So it's so wonderful that you're there as a mentor and a confidant for them.
Thank you.
Yeah, and how does the company, or what does the company need to have in place before they start working with you? You mentioned citizenship and a clean record. Is there anything else that they need to have in place?
So we work with companies of all sizes, and what they need to have for us to begin is that we need to first lean on the assets of their company. So if they already have financing, let's just say from a bank or a financing institution, then we would need to understand what that amount of money is and whether it makes sense for them to keep that and not work with us, or to work with us and have us work together to pay off the existing lender in order to give them greater liquidity. So I'll give you an example. They may have a loan with a bank for $100,000, but they just got $1 million order. So I can fund that $1 million order, but I need to have a first lien on assets. So I would pay off the bank so that I kind of clear the runway for us to be able to finance them. And understanding that kind of equation is something that many, many people do not understand. And listen, if you're not in that world, you wouldn't understand it. But talking to us, we really are able to, explain the whole backstory of why this would work and talk to the entrepreneur about what their vision is and realize that with them together. So for us, we work with a lot of very early stage companies. They don't need to be in business any particular amount of time. We don't look at their financials. We don't look at their tax returns. We don't care if they're profitable, but we do care who are they selling to. Can we confirm that the product was delivered? If it's an invoice, can we confirm that it's a solid purchase order that doesn't have rights of return other than, let's say, damages or things like that? And working with companies and brands, understanding, who they would like to get orders from. We also check the credit of those entities to make sure that they are creditworthy before they ship, because how many people, have shipped to, especially now in the retail landscape, it's really tough out there. So you want to know that you're shipping to a company that's going to be around long enough to pay you. So that's important.
That is very important. Yeah, so you're really helping to protect those brands too.
Yes.
And
yes.
like I wouldn't have thought it to do all that investigation, but it's that's super valuable.
Yes.
And your partners too. And so how long is the onboarding process then? How long does it take to go through all of those steps that you mentioned of doing all the checks and
It's actually very quick. So from speaking to somebody to funding them is typically 1 week.
Okay, well,
which is really fast. So we've streamlined everything in order to onboard clients quickly and painlessly. Our tagline is cash flow made simple. My daughter actually came up with the tagline when she was homesick when she was 16 years old.
oh, nice.
And she overheard one of our marketing calls and she wrote it on a napkin and now she wants royalties. But basically what I like to do is speak to the entrepreneur and see what their situation is and understand if this makes sense for them. If it does, then I direct them to fill out the application on our website. And right there, they fill that out. They send their account receivable aging or copies of their orders. And then within 24 hours, they have a proposal from us. And then within a day or two of signing the proposal, they have our 4-page contract. Once that's signed, they upload the invoices that they want to finance, and we finance them. So speed, flexibility, transparency, and literally, I mean, I'd say warmth and kindness is really a trademark at Prestige. I mean, people in my firm, they're tenured and then some. I mean, most people are there for 20 plus years. I'm one of the shorter ones there, and I'm there 14 years. So, that's a good place to be when you know that you're with a team that is happy and established in a well-established company.
Absolutely, and I'm sure that it's can be very intimidating for founders to come into this financial situation, and they would need some comfort and, like you said, and some kindness, navigating through that process and feeling safe. So I'm really happy that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
And so, what is the cost structure for this exchange?
Yeah. So we price what we do as an invoice discount. I'm going to give you a really simple equation. So we advance money on invoices. So let's just say you shipped $100,000 of, color cosmetic to Sephora, and you needed cash flow on that. We would buy that invoice. We typically advance an immediate 75% and hold a reserve of 25% in case there are offsets, deductions, marketing allowance, things that we don't know upfront. So if you sold me that invoice today, you would get $75,000 tomorrow. We would hold back 25% to make sure that the invoice did get paid in full. And when Sephora pays that invoice, the money ends up in our lockbox, and we release that reserve minus any deductions that they took. If they took no deductions, then we release the 25,000 minus our fee. And on a smaller deal, the fee might be something like 2.25%. So you take that $2,250 deducted out of the 25,000, and you get the difference back. And if it's a larger deal, it could be, as little as 1.25%. And so that discount of the receivable is what you're paying for having A, the cash flow, and B, all the back office work, credit checking your account, confirmation of the receivable, collection of the receivable, and truly having a partner who can understand your business and knows what things should look like. Whereas a lot of founders don't really know what the landscape should look like, and a lot of people get taken advantage of, quite candidly. And so on our website, you'll see, testimonials from satisfied clients that talk about really having a partner. And, one of them quotes as saying, "I have an angel on my shoulder," with Prestige, because we really do care for our clients, and we watch, all the details that they are maybe not that aware of. And we say, why is this in your purchase order? That's not common. Please go back and find out why you have that there. And we can save them a lot of aggravation just by knowing the language of, how things should look.
And it's so important. I've worked with some brands that they feel a little like they're walking the line between, like, do we go out and get business, or do we just grow the business that we have, because they have this mindset that they have to go out and raise capital in order to pursue more business. And we're really giving them a lot more options. Like you said, a partnership, a true partnership with expertise to do all that back end. It doesn't seem like a lot to me to have.
And it's a huge runway. It's a huge runway of cash. What I say to all my clients when I sign them on is, like, now that I'm giving you this availability to have capital, now sell, sell, sell. Yeah. Because, the more business you do, as long as it's to creditworthy companies, we can keep financing that. And why do you want to be, let's say, $1 million a year company if you could be a $10 million a year company?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. And especially as, like, so many, there are so many, like, new brands, and you see all these acquisitions of these startups to larger companies. And I've always wondered, I was like, oh, maybe if that company would have had a little bit more time to grow, how much more could they be worth in 2, 3, 5 years, by having, like, a partner like you. I think it's partnerships are key.
Yes, absolutely.
And So what are some realistic expectations for a brand or entrepreneur when they start working with your company? Is there like a question that comes up quite a bit, or like, oh, I didn't know, or I didn't know I had to have that, or any surprises from brands that you see come up?
I'd say the surprise is really how painless the process is. Because I
Okay.
think people are very intimidated by finance companies. I mean, I
Mhm.
myself, like I said, my background is sales and marketing, and finance is not my world at all. But it is such a simple equation, what we do, that you don't need to understand the whole finance world really to understand that, I'm buying something from you and I'm taking a discount. I actually coined the phrase that we are like an ATM machine for invoices.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
And the reason I came up with that as a marketing person is it's a visual that people can clearly
Mhm.
understand. So it's like saying, I need money. I'm going to go to my ATM, and instead of putting in my debit card, I'm going to put in an invoice and I'm going to get cash out. And then the machine's going to charge me a fee for doing so. So a person who's a founder or an entrepreneur, they may not understand, the big idea of what financing is, but if you
Mhm.
can understand what an ATM machine is, that's all
Yeah.
you need to understand. And
Yeah.
it makes people realize this is not some very complicated thing. I don't talk down to people. Nobody in our firm does. Like I said, we are very kind. And I think that that goes a long way in working with companies who may have great ideas for brands, but may not be, savvy in the finance world. But they don't
Mhm.
need to be, and they don't necessarily need to bring in a partner who's the finance person if they're an early stage brand. They don't want to spend that money. They may not want to give up 50% of their company to have the finance person. But if you have cash flow and liquidity and you know that you have a partner who will just grow, grow, grow your business, who understands, all the different industries. So for example, we do a lot with subscription boxes. I know
Mhm.
that when we started seeing those deals, we didn't really understand it, but we learned it and now we do it. And I have a blog about it on the website. And my blogs on the website are, me personally just sharing, things that we're coming across, industries that we're learning, sectors that we're learning, because we're always learning. There's always going to be
Yeah.
something new. We finance a lot in the technology industry. We learned how to do that. You don't just wake up and understand what software receivables look like and all,
Mhm.
IoT and AI, but you learn it if you want to be, active in the space of providing capital to businesses. And it's always evolving, you know?
Yeah. And like you said, you over that time, because you're doing one very specific thing, you understand best industry practices. I think you mentioned before. So if something is really off, you're like, yeah, this is a little wonky. Why don't we go back and ask them? These maybe should be the better terms for you, or have this checked out. I mean, short of having an attorney and do that, I don't know of another partner that would really do that.
Right.
Um, And I will say, in all my interactions with you, I've never heard you say that I hear so many finance people say, well, like when you ask like a question and then you're already thinking like, oh my gosh, it's going to be so complicated. And I've never really heard you say that, especially in that tone where you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be like not good news, or just that subtlety that can feel intimidating. I've never experienced that with you, so.
Right, right. Well, I love collaborating. And also, one of the things that's interesting is I try to put people in touch with the right person to help them grow. So,
Mhm.
for example, we don't finance e-commerce brands. That's just not something we do. But I have friends that finance those kind of companies. And there's a lot of people that do that. But I will always work with the person who has a style that's similar to me, meaning that they're warm and they're friendly and they're helpful. And so everybody in my network that I refer any kind of consultative, connection to, they have to be kind. That's like the number one. And if
Mhm.
they're not going to be referred any of my clients or my prospects. I'm a mentor on cosmetic executive women, and I'm trying to mentor
Mhm.
companies because, again, I want to give back. And I think that there are so many brands that just have a great idea and they just need a little bit of help to get where they need
Yeah.
to be. And if they were put in the right network of helpful people, they could be the next huge brand. or the next medium-sized brand. So personally, that's like my own mission, and I love what I do, and I love meeting new people. And I also love hearing about innovative brands. I mean, that's kind of cool and fun for me to be, in the know of what's going on. Yeah.
Definitely. Oh, so nice talking to you. Well, and I have one last surprise question, and it is, what is share something with me that you're grateful for? It doesn't have to be industry related or work related or anything, but just something that you're grateful for.
Well, first and foremost, right now I'm grateful for my health and the health of everybody I love and for being safe. That obviously is number one. But I'm grateful to have people in my life that are great collaborators and friends, including my team at Prestige. Our whole group, we are always just talking amongst ourselves, how can we make the experience better? For the client, and then working with people like you that get introduced to me through clients, through friends. I just love having a network of people, and right now, like even just doing this with you on Zoom, to see people, I'm grateful for the ability to have the technology that we are not locked down without the ability to see each other.
Yes.
I'm really grateful for that because it's so isolating. And, for a person like myself who's used to going to all these industry cocktail parties and, all this fun stuff, to be home is challenging. But to be able to at least, have this conversation with you where it's not just on a phone, but I'm seeing you, it is really rewarding. So I am grateful for the technology that enables us to talk. Yeah.
I am too. I've had many virtual meetings and impromptu virtual happy hours and all of that. And I too have felt very thankful during that time because it is hard not seeing all your friends for so long.
I
And
know.
yeah, as you know, our industry is extremely social.
Right.
So I think all of us are kind of feeling the pain, especially like you said, sales and marketing professionals. So. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Rachel. It's always a pleasure talking with you and visiting with you. And when we got on the call at the beginning, we were both feeling a little down, but now I feel like revived and I feel so good.
Absolutely. Me too. Me too. It's really great to see you. I really love chatting with you all the time, but this was so much fun. And, I just want to say to anybody out there who's watching this, happy to chat, happy to get to know anybody, happy to offer my ideas and mentorship in any way. It doesn't only have to be about financing. If you think that maybe by talking to me, you can help understand something better. If I know anything about it or know somebody who would know something about that, happy to introduce you to my network. So thanks so much, Hayley, for having me. This is really lovely.
Thank you. So I'm going to stop recording now. Bye.